Inspiration. In the esoteric tradition, it is taught that a range of spiritual hierarchy extends throughout all manifestation. From the mineral up to humankind, from humankind up to the Mahadeva or Archangel, from them to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, then up to Ishvara, thence to the One Most Supreme. The open space that is the sperm egg of poetry, pulsating and thrilling with presences, is the place of my poetry activity, which for me isn't just about writing down the content of inspirations, but in fact the poetics of seeing, hearing and perceiving with one's mind all the great and small resonances of the divine manifested in nature and art. Into the space, both inner and outer, where earth and elf, sea and undine, fire and salamander, and air and sylph disport themselves, weaving a dimension of existence between the material and astral realms. Into the spaces where great devas lord over dominions of land, sea and air, I am opened and inspired. For I am those places and those personages, and seek ever to know more of the cosmic unity by way of poetry. The creative impulse to fashion a poetics that can catch these resonances, these inspirational resonances, also leads me to collaborate with artists from other disciplines, whereby collective responses can more fully define the form, shape, and colour of realities otherwise behind the so-called veil. Paul Klee wrote, quote, "Art should not render the visible, but render visible," unquote. Likewise with the musician, movement artist, and painters with whom I work, rendering oral, motive, and visual. In his diaries, the high-minded Klee humbly wrote, and I would like to echo his sentiment, "I am not Pan in the reeds. I am merely a human being and want to climb a few steps, but really climb them." Unlike this script, my poetry doesn't contain much religious language. I don't believe it needs it, for it goes straight and simply to the disclosure of perceptions by means of a style of word versification that works on the senses to heighten consciousness of spaces whence came inspiration, points of departure wherefrom readers and listeners can make their own incursions into the metaphysical dimension implied therein. It takes, my poetry, it takes, to quote Walt Whitman, a projective line, as opposed to the closed line of poetic device and metre. Don't go looking for any great meanings or cryptic clues. Just follow the lines. Pay attention to the spaces and find your own relations. Archibald MacLeish, another American poet, less well known than Whitman and much underrated, said, quote, "A poem should not mean, but be," unquote. And it is this realm of being with which I am concerned. I believe that for everything manifested in the material universe, there exist more resplendent spiritual counterparts on other planes of existence, up the spiritual hierarchy. Poetry is a door opening into these states. I'm going to read two poems. The first one's a long one, and the second very short. This was called Southwestering, subtitled Sketches from Glasgow to Great Cumbria. Great Cumbria is a little island just off the Ayrshire coast. If you didn't already know that. Skirting the Clyde, on the south bank, low rainbow spanning, colour washing water edge at the east end of Greenock. Coastal wind blowing strong across Greenock, never so strong in Glasgow in August. Further down coast, double rainbow straddling behind the Whatside Hills into Largs Bay, where I cross on the Millport ferry. By evening, wind turns cool. East moon rises full over mainland hills, playing shapes with pinking strati as the sun sets yonder. Treading on Millport Pier, down steps that descend into water, upon the last one before the water laps, contemplating lip lappings and intervenient silence, gurglings, as ripples are forced down to form ephemeral bubbles by the underside of a crossbeam. On top, nets, floats, and creels strewn, gulls resting and watching. Moons risen a little higher and brightened in near twilight. Band of cloud encircling horizon, 3/4 clear sky above. Behind the town, wind-brushed copse, where crows craw roosting chatter. Moon spread on the water, rendering more visible tiny silhouette rock against cloud-shadowed sea grey, highlighted by overwashing wavelet spume. After midnight, on the shore, of plashing tide, slowly, faintly, under a white full moon lightening sky. Nocturnal breeze, tinkling and clanking metal rope rings against sailboat masts upon floodlit water. Morning walk through a deciduous wood. Tall, lean oaks, silver birches. Quiet, only of light rain on high canopy. I feel a little faint, sensing presences. A solitary standing stone, sense of age, histories. Natural, human. Sloping to the top, panorama coming into view. I see over Butte, the water beyond, where the Firth merges with the sound of Butte shoring onto the Mull of Kintyre. View to the north, of Ben Lomond, Argyll and yonder, where Glasgow lies, gloomy in low grey and black cloud brooding over. Southwest is silver in light, where the sun hits white altocumulus and sparkles on the grey sea. At the top, an island panorama of other isles, Butte, Little Cumbria and Arran, gathered in a great curvature created by the mainland's bend to the southern tip of Kintyre. South Ayrshire coast swooping out, southernmost point to the Atlantic. Vastness of sea grey, expanding up, extending out. Bees buzzing, crickets ticking in the crown of freshly coloured purple heather. Sloping down, following topographic flow, I feel the force of serpentine current. Om mani padme hum, chanted on the way down, poeming on the way, with Rilke replying to the question of the poet's work, praising what I see and feel. Shiny green grass of hillock, whence I look out, across the firth, into the great corrie aside Aaron's goat fell, darkened by shadows of 4 leeward faces, overcome by sparkle of a stream or glinting granite outcrop. At a glance, Ailsa Craig is invisible, but I know where she lies, and look to see, and see her faintly coming into sight. Sight that few minutes later is no more. Warm air deeply inspired through my nostrils. Now the smell of nothing but pure air. Then the smell of cattle dirt fresh air, to pure again, with a real or imagined sweetness from somewhere. Nightfall in presenced blue, indigo blue of the northeastern Atlantic, lightening by rising moonshine through thin cloud. A few white sailboats sporadically moored in Kames Bay. A cabin light from one, winking by lolling sway of gentle tide. Peace. Peace of blackening blue. Black peace nighttime. The last poem is called 27th September because it was written on the 27th of September this year. The moon is a waning half, cut at a diagonal, straight edge earthward tilt on warm blue sky. Sun in Libra, wind blowing cool, everything evening out.
Something is moving. I let it move through me. I let it move by means of me. I let it move by my means. I let it move towards what it means. It means to me, through me. It means to move through me. As it is meant for me, I know. I let it until it is through with me. These words of Robert Duncan that were a good echo to the movements in Alistair's poetry and the question of I.E. in his book fountains of song. Is a poet of the beginning of the century in Ireland. How is poetry calling in us? There is, I think, some coherence between the outer and the inner being. Some character and aspiration determines the character of inspiration. In our meditation, we are all consciously or unconsciously votaries of the holy breath. And this source, the holy breath, that what makes us breathe in and breathe out, that process of initiation, a poetic initiation, as Kathleen Rain calls it in Defending Ancient Springs, it's a process of an opening of the imaginative eye. And the poet or bard, which was in old times, especially in Ireland, often blind physically, became thus the spectator of the great cosmic drama. And this round is what Kathleen Rain says. It is the test of the authentic poet at all times that his work should draw its inspiration from that source. Now that source has got different names, and probably so many names as there are human beings. For you, everybody might have its own name, its own sound. Jung calls it the collective unconscious. Yeats calls it anima mundi. Blake, the world of imagination. Plato, the world of ideas. Goethe calls it the eternal female. And the chorus mysticus at the end of Goethe's Faust sings, in German first, alles Vergängliche ist nur ein Gleichnis. Das Unzulängliche hier wird Ereignis. Das Unbeschreibliche hier ist's getan. Das ewig Weibliche zieht uns hinan. Everything temporal is but a parable. That which seems unattainable, here it is attained. That which seems undescribable, here it has happened. The eternal calls us all. And to round off this evening of celebration of poets, their poetry and of the source of poetic inspiration in general, we're going to sound a piece of, could you speak that for me, please, his name?
Of Federico Garcia Lorca.
Thank you. My Spanish is not good. It's called The Ballad of the Little Square. And it's a little square where children are singing in the quiet night. And there is somebody called myself, and we can assume that is the poet, who is entering here in a dialogue and in a process with those children. And the children sing in the quiet night.
Clear stream, serene fountain, what does your divine rejoicing heart hold?
A ringing of bells, lost in the mist.
You leave us singing in the little square. Clear stream, serene fountain, what do you hold in your venerable hands?
A rose of blood and a white lily.
Dip them in the water of the antique song. Clear stream, serene fountain. What do you feel in your mouth scarlet and thirsting?
The taste of the bones of my big skull.
Drink the tranquil water of the antique song. Clear stream, serene fountain. Why do you go so far from the little square?
I go in search of magicians and princesses.
Who showed you the path of the poets? you go far, very far, from the sea and the air?
My heart of silk is filled with lights, with lost bells, with lilies and with bees. And I will go very far, farther than those hills, farther than the sea, close to the stars, to ask Christ the Lord to give me back my ancient soul of a child, mellowed with legends, with the feathered cup and the wooden sword.
You leave us singing in the little square, clear stream, serene fountain, enormous pupils of parched fronds, wounded by the wind, weep dead leaves.
After surviving all this?
That was excellent.
You were just absolutely true professional. As I was saying, wonderful. And the concierge was there. My upper parents started to like
Yes, it seems though. We thought it was about an hour and a half. But in practice,
Was there many
when the
people
real
here?
came, it was long.
And I went like this. The title of the next poem is, and I couldn't, and I thought like one moment we'll have to stick together. I would like to come next week. 7:30, same time, same place, same poets. No, totally different, quite different. It's a musical event where upon music is the main part of it and poetry. Yes, bye.
Would you like to say anything to the camera about what you felt today?
What I felt about the show?
Yes.
Let me think. I think the presentation was very successful. I think it met, I believe, a demand that's there by people who would like to know more about poetry. So often poets present their poems or present their work in a take it or leave it way. In this case, there's an explanation and a context for the poetry, which I believe worked very well.
Thank you.
I just wanted to bring you just like,
Think about tonight's events.
Well, it was interesting that it didn't take as long as I thought it would. That when we were rehearsing, it seemed it was going to take about an hour and a half. And from experience, I had always thought that when you actually put something into a performance situation, it seems to go slower. So I was concerned lest it went on nearer till 10 o'clock, in fact. Whereas actually it stopped at 9:15 and we started at 8. So it was actually only an hour and a quarter, so that was very interesting. I certainly felt happy with it, I must say. I felt that it flowed, magic came out quite well. There weren't obvious goofs. I think the strength of each of the various elements seemed to come forward, but on the whole, I'm of the mind that it's up to the audience to say what they think of it. George?
Okay.
So I'd like to know what you thought. What did you think of it?
Well, it was really interesting, and there were certain bits of it that I liked the most.
Yes, of course. Tell me then, which ones did you find more interesting?
Well, the end part with
Lorca, the
yeah,
last one?
that was nice.
It certainly had a magic quality, didn't it? In the rehearsal we had the other day, Ruth started to talk about what it meant, and I sort of felt, oh no, don't try to analyse this. It's just magic. It's just magic. Strange, childlike, incandescent magic.
I was very happy with the overall performance. I thought it went extremely well, actually. Collectively and individually, the performance was great. I was happy with myself, and I didn't stutter like I thought I might. Kidding one earlier on about stuttering all the time. And I look forward to be able to take this show on the road, you know. I look forward to the world tour. Yeah, I think that's me. That's all I have to say.